Hey guys, welcome to the podcast. I'm your host, Jason Schnitzer, and here is your next episode. All right, what I've got for you guys today is why men listen but don't hear. And really what this episode is about is learning how to connect with your wife in a different way, connect with your partner in a different way. One of the biggest complaints that I hear from women is like, man, every time I go to share something with my husband or my boyfriend, significant other, he can't listen to me. He just, instead of listening, he just wants to fix the issue, whatever's coming up. And I was the same way, 5-10 years ago especially. All I wanted to do was fix whatever the problem was. And what I have come to realize is, men, we just are not equipped with the right tools and skills for this process of holding space for another person. Okay. And kind of what I've realized for myself is, and what I've noticed over the years is when somebody would bring something to me that was difficult or hard, instantly what I'd want to do, or instantly what would happen, was I would have the feeling of what it felt like to be immersed in the situation. So if my wife was stressed out about a certain thing, that stress would manifest within me. And for the most part, men are not great with sitting with difficult feelings. And a lot of that stems from the fact that we don't have a lot of experience sitting with feelings, right? And that mostly comes from how we were raised, what our society says about how men should, be in certain situations that bring up difficult emotions, how we should or shouldn't share those emotions. So, for example, when a kid gets hurt, it's like, oh, don't cry. You're tough. You shouldn't cry, right? So what is that telling the kid? It's like, okay, crying is not safe because, as a man, I need to be tough. And if you cry, you're not tough. So feeling an emotion that might evoke crying, right? Or feelings that would make you cry isn't going to be safe for that boy or man as he grows up, and therefore will do everything in his power to avoid situations where he needs to feel those things. And we wonder why it's, we make memes about it. We make jokes about it, about how men, they just can't attune. They can't drop in. They can't be present. I try to, I tell my husband something 10 times and he just doesn't listen. And I don't feel connected to him because he can't hear what I'm saying. Or I say one thing and he sees something else or hears something else. And so this whole concept has really sank in with me. And it's unfortunate because, as men, men, we want to do a good job. We want to be competent. A lot of the masculine is based off of results-oriented things. Like one of the defining things for men is like, hey, can you provide for a family? Can you provide for your woman or your wife? And what do you have to do to provide? Well, you have to be exceptionally good at something, skilled. You have to be able to get results in something. So there's a lot of self-worth tied into being good at things. And that's just been, present and evident in all areas and, all ages of my life personally. And a lot of the men that I talk to, that resonates heavily with them. So when you bump up against something, especially when it's so near and dear, like your relationship and your marriage, where you are not good at something, there's inherent shame for men. And a lot of times, especially because we don't know how to deal with shame when it comes up, it's very uncomfortable to be in your body when you feel shame, when you feel, grief and disappointment, and like you're disappointing somebody and you're not being able to meet someone's needs. A lot of times, that's where defensiveness comes in. That's where pride and ego comes in. That's where substance abuse comes in. Betrayal, doing things that maybe are out of character for somebody. And all that's underneath it is this fear of experiencing certain feelings that have been deemed bad or not good, or, stereotypically that you shouldn't feel throughout the course of your life. And it's like crazy, because really when it gets watered down to that, that's more or less underneath almost all relational problems. There's a disconnect, whether it be for the woman or the man. It doesn't always have to be for the man. There's plenty of feelings that women feel that, they would rather not feel, that make it difficult for them to take ownership, etc. And, that of course is the process of life, is discovering what those triggers are for you and why they got their jobs, and really, organizing that within yourself and figuring out how that shows up in your life for you, how it shows up in your life with your partner, at your work, all the things. And that's everybody's own work. So, why do men listen but not hear? Well, what I believe is underneath that is their inability to sit with what is the emotion that comes with whatever it is that you're telling them, okay? Because when you bring them something that's full of stress or full of anxiety or full of grief or pain or discomfort, that comes up within them. And if you don't have the ability to, or the know-how to sit with that for yourself, you are instantly going to try to fix it in that person. So, because what happens is when you fix it in the person that's bringing you the problem, well, guess what that does? It fixes it for you. As opposed to being able to sit with your wife in the dysregulation or the discomfort, hang in the tension, and realize, hey, this has nothing to do with you. This is all about her. What does she need right now? Does she need somebody to listen to? Does she need space to just speak her mind? Because a lot of us just need somebody to listen. And in that case, this is just like super valuable information for men that are listening. When you learn to be your wife's reporter, you will change the trajectory of your sex life. And what I mean by that is just being able to non-discriminatorily, or without taking anything personally, report back to her what it is that you heard her say, so that you can understand her point of view. Just completely will, again, shift the trajectory of your sex life. And why that is because when somebody feels seen, heard, validated, and understood, they feel more connected to you. And guess what happens when the feminine feels more connected? Well, they want to express that in, words of affirmation, appreciation, physical expressions, all the things. And so one of the keys to having a healthier marriage is learning how to be able to sit with your own stuff so that you have the capacity to become that reporter. Because for a lot of men, myself included a while back, is if you get defensive or if you feel the need to fix when your wife brings you something that's maybe more difficult to hold, then that tells me that there's stuff going on beneath the surface for you that you have to dig into just to be able to start building the capacity to even do the reporting. Because if you don't have that capacity, you'll be catching yourself reporting back to her with all this stuff going on for you. And guess what? That's just not going to land right for her. You're not going to be able to drop in and attune to where she's coming from, because you're going to be so worried about all the stuff that's coming up for you. So this has like completely changed my life and my marriage and relationship. And so I'm kind of wondering how this lands for you, and maybe it sheds a little more light and takes a little bit of the shame away. If this is something that you're struggling with, just know it's like, again, with this being underneath most of the issues and it not being okay for men to feel certain ways and all the things, well, it's like we just don't have as many reps in actually being able to do this stuff. So it makes perfect sense, in other words. So again, if you're struggling with this, if this is something that has come up in your relationship or your marriage, it's like, just know, like, hey dude, not a big deal. There's information out there. There's people that have been in your shoes that know how to walk you through this so that you can change the trajectory of your marriage, reignite the flame between you and your wife, and have a happy life and a happy wife. And it's funny how those two correlate, maybe not in the way that you think. So if you are a guy that is struggling with this, I have spots open for one-on-one coaching. This is something that we dive deep into, some of the deep work that we do to be able to put you in a place to completely change the dynamics in your relationship. And like I said, have a happy life and a happy wife. So thanks for listening. Would love to hear what you guys think. Leave a comment, like, subscribe, all the good stuff. Reach out to me direct. I love talking to people about all this stuff. So if you have any questions, always feel free to reach out to me. You can find me at Jason Schnitzer Coaching on Instagram. That's really where the main hub of where I'm interacting with people at. So again, thanks for watching, you guys, and I'll catch you on the next one.